Hi everybody, I'm here for Fragment Friday this week, and I will be reading from Jumpstart the World by Catherine Ryan Hyde. And I'm just going to be reading right from the beginning. This book is about this girl who moves into a new apartment, and her one of the neighbors on her hall is a transgender guy, and they kind of form this bond and that sort of thing. And it came out earlier this week, so please go out and get a copy if this sounds really good to you. And um, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. The next, this next thing that happened is important. It was one of those moments. I'm fascinated by moments like this. Always have been. The kind where you think something really ordinary is happening. So ordinary that you're barely even paying attention. But then, looking back, you see it wasn't ordinary at all. It was maybe the most important thing that ever happened to you, but at the moment you lived it out, it barely even blipped onto your radar screen. I go back a lot and think about the time I first met Frank. It's sort of mind-boggling to compare how important it turned out to be with how important I thought it was at the time. But I guess it doesn't help to go on and on about weird stuff like that. Anyway, we were walking down the hall, my mother and me, walking down my new hall towards the door of my new apartment. I was lugging the cat carrier, which was getting pretty heavy. I kept thinking my mother would offer to take it from me for just a minute, give me a chance to breathe. But maybe she was still mad that I didn't take the beautiful Persian. Either that or she was afraid ugliness might be contagious. The door of the apartment next to mine opened, and there was Frank, only I didn't know it was Frank at the time, like I was saying before. He was just this little guy standing out in the hall. He was probably even an inch or two shorter than me, but then I'm pretty tall, about 5'9". I figured him to be maybe 30 or so. He had dark hair that was cut really short, short enough that it stuck straight up on top, and little round wire-rimmed glasses, pretty thick glasses too. There was something kind of elfin about him. At least, I remember thinking that at the time. Now I look back and can't imagine seeing him as anything but brave and big, but at the time I remember getting images of pixies and leprechauns. "Moving in," he said. "Welcome." He had a funny voice, like he'd been sucking helium. Well, not that funny. I'm exaggerating, but it definitely reinforced the elf-like image. He made welcome sound like the short version of welcome to Munchkinland. And as far as the moving in comment goes, I tend to have issues with people who restate the obvious. At least when my mother does that, it drives me crazy. But it was hard to fault a guy like Frank, and I don't just mean in hindsight, I mean even at the time. He had a big, friendly smile, and there was something cute about him, but in a soft sort of way. Hard to explain what I mean by soft. Gentle, I guess I mean. He made you try not to find fault with him for some reason, the kind of guy it's hard not to like. "Need any help? I'm small, but I'm strong." He flexed a bicep, pulling up his t-shirt sleeve. Not the biggest muscles in the world, I guess, but definitely muscles. And besides, it was sort of funny and nice the way he did that. "Thank you, young man," my mother said, totally humiliating me. I mean, who calls someone young man anyway? It's so demeaning. And besides, he was only about 10 years younger than she was. I felt my face flush red, but we've hired moving men. The boxes have already arrived. Well, if there's anything I can do for my new neighbors. My mother just continued to sweep down the hall to my new apartment door, in that weirdly dramatic way she has of doing things. I stood in front of my new door with this heavy cat, waiting for my mother, who had the key to actually let us in. But she threw me a curve, hanging a sudden U-turn and sweeping back down the hall to new neighbor guy. I set down the cat carrier and sighed. "There's one thing you could do for me. My daughter will be on her own for the very first time, and in this big, ugly city, too." There it was again. Ugly. I had begun counting. "And she's so young, turned 18 barely a minute ago." She cut her eyes back to me. We had a quick little argument, just with our eyes and our faces. With my eyes and face I said, "You're a liar, and I can call you on it any time." And with her eyes and face she said, "This is for your own good. Hush." And then my eyes and face said I didn't believe a word of what her eyes and face had just said. Mother and I fought so well we didn't even need to talk anymore. Fighting with actual words was optional. Maybe I could leave you with an emergency number, just in case. I do worry about her. "I can use a phone, Mother." "Not if you're hurt or in trouble, you can't. Let me give the nice young man my number." I rolled my eyes and waited. I was thinking, if you were really afraid of me getting hurt or in trouble, you'd let me live at home, like other 15-year-olds do. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And it came out earlier this week. If it intrigues you, please go get a copy. Thanks. Now I'm going to check time. Okay. The other reason I'm checking time is because I started talking about two things that I really do want to talk about, and I ended up going over 11 minutes. And so YouTube doesn't accept videos over 10 minutes. Problem. So I'm going to try and get through these two things fast. Um, so since I'm doing a GLBT week this week, I wanted to point out these two wonderful projects um, that have come to my attention after um, the suicides of several gay teenagers, um, that have happened in the past couple of weeks. And so the first one that I wanted to talk about was the It Gets Better project. And basically it's just a YouTube project where a bunch of people, celebrities, non-celebrities, anybody um, can make a video and um, give hope to gay teenagers out there that um, are feeling alone and like they have nothing, that they have no one to turn to, and that their bullying situations are so bad that they think suicide is the only way out, and so we're telling these people that it does get better, and it really does. And it's hard to see, I think, when you're in that bubble, when you're in the here and now, and it's really hard to focus on the future. Um, but I gotta tell you, middle school, high school, college, they're all little bubbles. There's a whole world outside of that bubble, and and if you just you know stay alive and and keep going and work for it and stuff like that, and it can get really better. And I mean, and it's hard to see, but change is happening every single day, and so like, but it's, I mean, it's in small ways, but it's still happening. And once that time comes, that gay people are more, like, way more widely accepted and stuff like that. We have marriage rights and are not treated like second class citizens anymore. We would like these gay teenagers to be around for it, and so please, please, try and stay alive, and know that you have tons of people out here in the world that love and accept you for who you are. Okay, so always keep that in mind. And the second thing is the Trevor Project, which is um, a hotline, suicide hotline, and that you can call if you are feeling, if you have thoughts of suicide going on and that sort of thing, and they can help you, work through it, and that you can know that you're not alone, and that you can get out of that dark place, and yeah. So I just wanted to point out those two things, and I'm going to put links to them both on the YouTube page and on the blog, and um, I just really hope that these things and will really help, and because what's been going on is extremely tragic, and it hurts me so much, and to hear about these things. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just stop talking, and thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next week.